You know, that specific, slightly embarrassing feeling when you're walking down the street, someone bumps into you, and somehow, before you even process what happened, you're the one who says, "Oh, sorry." Or maybe you're sending an email to a coworker to ask for something you actually need to do your job, but you start the sentence with, "So sorry to bother you." You describe yourself as just polite or maybe a peacekeeper, but deep down, there's that gnawing feeling that you're apologizing for your mere existence. That feeling where taking up space feels like an inconvenience to the world around you. If you know exactly what I'm talking about, this video isn't just about manners, it's about a survival mechanism your brain has been perfecting for years. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you apologized because you actually did something wrong? Like you broke a vase or forgot a birthday. Now, when was the last time you apologized because you felt uncomfortable, or because someone else was in a bad mood, or just to fill a silence? That gap tells you everything. Because here's the insight: for you, "I'm sorry" isn't an admission of guilt, it's a shield. Here's what nobody tells you about over apologizing: it feels like you're being kind, but your brain is actually engaged in a high speed risk assessment. You aren't apologizing for your actions, you are apologizing for the potential reaction of others. Your brain is doing something fascinating and exhausting. It is trying to manage the emotional climate of the room by taking the blame for the weather. You perceive neutral situations as potentially dangerous, and the apology is your way of pressing the safe button before anything bad can happen. There's this renowned therapist and researcher named Pete Walker who talked about a concept that explains this perfectly. Most of us know about the fight or flight response, but Walker expanded this to include two others: freeze and, crucially for you, the fawn response. Translation: the fawn response is when your nervous system decides the best way to stay safe is to be as pleasing, helpful, and non threatening as possible. It's the biological equivalent of a dog rolling over to show its belly. It says, "I am not a threat, please don't hurt me." Studies show that people who score high in agreeableness and anxiety sensitivity are significantly more likely to apologize for situations they didn't control. And that sounds like a personality quirk, right? But research published in the journal Psychological Science found something interesting about how we perceive offenses. The researchers found that women in particular apologize more frequently than men, not because they are more polite, but because they have a lower threshold for what they consider offensive behavior. Basically, your brain is wired to detect social threats way before anyone else does. You see a frown, a sigh, or a delayed text message as a sign that you have done something wrong. Your brain lights up with a signal that says danger, connection at risk. The apology is the tool your brain uses to turn that alarm off. Here's what researchers discovered that changes everything about how you see your habit. It's not just about low self esteem, it's about hyper attunement. Think about it this way: your apologizing habit is actually a three-part system your brain runs on autopilot. 1. The radar, threat detection. Your brain is constantly scanning for micro expressions of disapproval. You notice a shift in tone or a raised eyebrow that other people miss completely. 2. The absorption, responsibility hoarding. Once tension is detected, your brain assumes it's your job to fix it. If the room is tense, you assume it's your fault, or at least your responsibility to diffuse it. 3. The offering, the apology. You offer the apology as a peace offering to lower the other person's defenses. Here is the kicker: it works. Short term, it works. The other person usually says, "It's okay," and you get a hit of dopamine. The immediate anxiety goes away, but this creates a loop. Psychologists call this negative reinforcement. You feel anxious, you apologize, the anxiety drops, your brain learns, saying sorry makes me feel safe, so you do it more and more until you're apologizing to the chair you bumped into. But here's where it gets interesting and honestly a little heartbreaking. When you apologize for things that aren't your fault, like asking a question, or having feelings, or just being present, you're engaging in what psychologists call signal dilution. If you say sorry for spilling water, and you also say sorry for asking a question, you're telling the world that your needs are just as inconvenient as your mistakes. You are training people to view your presence as something that requires forgiveness. What's actually happening is a distortion of locus of control. You are internalizing the chaos of the world. If it rains on the picnic, you feel bad for suggesting the picnic. If your friend is in a bad mood, you wonder what you said. You are carrying the emotional weight of everyone around you. And while you think this makes you good or easy to get along with, it's actually a form of self abandonment. You are abandoning your own reality to validate someone else's. So here's what I need you to understand: you're not weak or spineless for apologizing constantly. And you're certainly not annoying, even if you worry that you are. Your habit isn't a weakness, it's a form of protection. It is likely that at some point in your life, perhaps when you were younger, being right was less important than being safe. You learned that if you took the blame, the conflict would end faster. You learned that if you made yourself small, you were less likely to be a target. Your brain isn't broken, it's actually functioning with incredibly high emotional intelligence. It learned how to read a room, how to de escalate conflict, and how to prioritize connection over ego. Those are superpowers. The problem is just that your brain is still stuck in survival mode. When you're actually safe, you're using a shield when nobody is swinging a sword at you. If you've spent your whole life feeling like a burden, feeling like you have to earn your spot in the room by being the most convenient person there, maybe you've been a peacemaker your entire life. Maybe your supposed weakness, that sensitivity, that softness, was always a strength the world wasn't ready for yet. But you don't need to apologize for your existence anymore. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be inconvenient. You're allowed to have needs that make other people work a little bit. The people who truly love you don't want your apologies. They want your presence. They want the real you, not the version of you that is constantly shrinking to fit. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. We talk about the things your brain does to protect you every day,